Welcome to the Moon Unscathed. I'm Dwan Alhern, more affectionately known as the Moon, and I am once again joined by my wonderful friend Jayce Maxwell.
Hello.
And I remember to pause to give him a chance to say that. Today is the third part of this cultural impact review series. There are six. Are there 6 Tuesdays in June? No. But we're going to keep going because Pride is Pride all year long. Argue with your mama. I don't know what to tell you. This isn't just performative for Pride Month. These are important messages and culturally impactful reviews of movies that really, as Jayce said, move the needle for this community. And I think it's just important work. So we're going to keep going past June. So,
And like we've said, Moon and I, we talk about these issues year round.
we really do. Like daily, if not weekly, we are discussing this and Doctor Who. So if you like Doctor Who and you're hearing this, share it with people. Gotta give credit to who was first. Sako Toomey, our mutual friend, my co-host of Sako on the Moon. Shout out Sako. Who again we were just talking to before the show started. And again, we talk about this all the time. We were going over the notes for this movie because this is a documentary. So this is less like the movies we've done so far and the movies we're going to do after this. The rest of the work are acts or works of fiction. This is a documentary. So there's validity to this, and there's no concrete story. So there's no like beginning, middle, and end. So we're going to kind of take this out of order as it's presented in the documentary. We're going to discuss the documentary and how this has impacted drag culture, which kind of just leaned itself to trans culture and really what this documentary highlights is the self-established safe havens that queer people needed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
And still do.
and still do. So in case this is your first episode, Jayce, why don't you introduce yourself to the people once again?
I am Jayce Maxwell. I am an author and editor. At the moment, I only have a few short stories published in anthologies from Two of Crohn's. Wow, hard to say.
Right?
But they are bangers.
You are in Seven Sins.
Mm-hmm.
And then which other ones are you in?
Bog Hag and Hush Little Baby.
All available on Amazon right now. And today is the beginning of Prime Day. So maybe there's a discount.
Woo!
So if you're within the sound of my voice, go to Amazon, take advantage of Prime Day, and while you're filling your cart with a bunch of other stuff you don't actually need, you can fill your cart with books that you totally need that feature Jayce Maxwell.
And you can fill yourself with stories.
Exactly. I guess while you're there, you can buy my book too if you really want to, but we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about Paris is Burning.
Yes.
A documentary from 1990 discussing the drag scene. The New York ball culture is what is discussed, and it took me a while to verify this. But one of the balls, like a masquerade ball, like a dance, like a performance space, that kind of a ball, was named after. Well, was put on by one of the houses. We're going to get into that here in a little while. It was a Dupree. It was the House of Dupree. Paris Dupree. That was the Paris in reference to Paris.
And she was in this.
Yeah. Jayce, what are your overall thoughts on Paris is Burning?
I didn't know how much I didn't know until I watched this movie.
Well, that's a great way of putting that.
I thought that going in, I thought this was about drag culture, and it's so much more. It is so much bigger, and oh, wow.
So let's rewind the clock. All right. It's no longer 2026. Let's run it back to 1986, which will be during the time frame that this movie was filmed. This movie was filmed over like, what was it, like 7, 8 years?
The bulk of it's 1987.
Yeah. So a little bit before, a little bit after, but primarily in that one span of time. Documentary, like I said, was released in 1990. And, you know, in 2026, a drag queen would wear a t-shirt with the trans flag on it if they wanted to, or a rainbow of some sort, and could just walk the streets and fear nothing, generally speaking. This was not the case.
No.
In 1986, New York City. I think one person starts off the documentary saying that their father said to them as a queer black man, like, you got 3 strikes against you in this world. One being black, one being male, and the third is you being gay. These are all strikes that are going to work against you. And the culture was not kind, I think, is a mild way of putting that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was there, not in New York, but I was alive at the time and cognizant of things that were going down. Because when you're, I think for general people, a lot of that stuff flies, it goes in one ear and out the other, because we only retain what's pertinent to our lives.
Right. What's relevant to the world we live in.
But being gay, all those stories, they didn't go out the other ear. They sunk in. And so, I'm seeing other people acting like the world is okay, and I'm like, have you been watching the same news that I have? Have you been watching the same shows I have?
Right.
Like, you're talking about these shows, but you're completely oblivious to the fact that severe oppression and violence are happening to this group of people.
And I think that when you are a part of a different marginalized group, the news when you're part of one group, the news of what's happening to another group tends to escape you more out of necessity, because you need to focus on what's going to impact you. I was a straight black kid.
You got a certain amount of bandwidth.
Right. As a straight black kid, it's not that I didn't care about what was happening to gay people. It just didn't impact me. No one in my immediate circle, at least at the time I come out. So nothing that was happening there impacted me here. It was the thing you hear about on TV. It was the character on a TV show, and you dismissed it just as quickly. But when you saw a character that looked like you, or that lived a life like you did, and I guess that's a really broad way of putting it, because if you were poor, you noticed the poor characters on TV. You noticed the news that impacted your food stamps or your Section 8 or whatever. Those things mattered to you because they directly impacted you. And I think that there was a lot where we try to sweep certain things under the rug or keep them in the shadows. And as you watch this documentary, you see that a lot of the people featured, they're out at night in the alleys. They're talking about the people who work the corners, and so these were the fringes of society. Society was literally trying to like dismiss them hide them in the shadows.
And when you see them during the day, look at the places they are. They're out at the far reaches of the docks hanging out.
Yeah. Literally at the docks, like out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trying to be loud downtown or in the heart of Manhattan or in Times Square. There is one scene where they're in a restaurant with the camera crew, and the camera crew shows our cast of characters in the background with this couple in the foreground, and the couple looks perturbed,
stank face,
like super old folk 80s style stank face. Like it is. I don't think they've ever said the word stank in their lives, but their face sure the hell did. They're like, what is happening with these people and these cameras? And can we get back to our burger now?
Why are these loud people in our respectable restaurant?
Right. And it's like, we don't want these people here. And as whether it's because they were black, whether because they were queer, or because they were loud. One of those reasons these people were very unhappy, realistically at the time, was probably all three.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the environment that this documentary is set in, and the people that we're discussing. These are people who are the other employee at the convenience store or at the grocery store, I guess bodega maybe. No one's really trying to deal, or they're very closeted because it really was not safe to just be out. And that's going to go into one of the things we're going to be discussing as we go through this documentary. So this population. Do you have something you want to throw in?
I think we're going to the same point.
Yeah, we're going
demographics.
Yeah. So we're going here to what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to hit it. Just trust me on this one. Trust the process. We're looking at what has become a safe haven for this marginalized group of people. Mm-hmm. And this is the group of people that have like literally everything working against them as far as society is concerned. Predominantly, these people are Black or Latino. There are some white people scattered amongst the documentary, but primarily this space is taken up by Black and brown people. Mm-hmm. Usually, because mind you, think about New York City in the 80s. These are Puerto Rican Latinos. These are, your Black people. Very few white people are in this marginalized space. I would speculate that they just weren't part of this cultural subset. If that makes sense.
I would hazard a guess that if you know about things like Studio 54, that there were more upscale places for the white gays to be.
Mm. I can see that, yeah.
And pretty much, I think the only white people in the ball scene in this ball scene were probably poorer ones.
Right. So that's what I mean by this cultural like subset. Mm-hmm. So we have this collection of Black and brown people, and then they separate themselves even further because they're queer Black and brown people. Mm-hmm. So they're being rejected in every space. So they found themselves this safe haven, and that would be the balls. Mm-hmm. Why don't you share a little bit about the ball scene?
So, as you mentioned, they're based on masquerade balls, mm-hmm. and they're like pageants.
I feel like that's more accurate. They're like pageants.
But when I going into this, I thought they were drag pageants, but there's so many more categories, which we'll get into.
But it is deeper than that.
Because it's a place where, because it's also a social club.
Yes. So there is the pageant element of this, where there is like performance and competition and awards. But also, this was, and I keep using the phrase safe haven because this is the place for them to go to be themselves openly. They could walk into the houses, the physical spaces where the balls take place, and just be. Like, they could just be there. Because, again, these were people on the fringe of society for a multitude of reasons. It worked against them in every way, and some of these people were homeless. Yeah. And so they just needed a place to exist at night safely. And they were either sleeping on the pier or in these houses where these competitions and these balls were taking place.
And, that they didn't have to be trans or in drag. They could compete in so many categories that had so much extra that I'm having trouble putting into words.
It is tough to put into words. Even I was trying to think about how am I going to save Jayce in this moment, and I'm just like, I'm just as stuck. So I'll frame it like this. When I was first looking at this, you look at the thumbnail that's in front of us, and the first thing you think of is, all right, it's a drag pageant.
Right.
This is what, if I was looking at this cover, that's the first thing I'm thinking of is a drag pageant. There's so much, it's so much deeper than that. When you look at a drag pageant, I would assume that what you're expecting to see is the most extravagant garb and feathers and bows and whatever else decor, and they're walking a runway to see who is the most glamorous of them all. And while that is a facet of this, it goes so much deeper. This is where I get hung up because it goes so much deeper than that. There are, for these balls, for the competition, there are categories. And of course, it's going to be the most feminine or the most lavish. I think Banji, is that what that was? Or is that more, like Hood Chick in the corner?
Yeah, I think Banji was Hood Chick.
All right, so let me get my list out. We had some categories like upcoming pretty girl, high fashion winter sportswear. We had my favorite was cheesecake because I like cheesecake. Has nothing to do with the category, but I love cheesecake. And cheesecake was having an attractive shaped body and being sexy as well. Then you had, now you get a lot of this narrated by someone named Dorian Corey. Yeah. And Dorian Corey goes into talking about how when Dorian started in the 60s, when the scene really kind of took off, you had people who were you were trying to go for like Las Vegas showgirl, right? And then as you go from the 60s into the 70s, you're going more for like glamorous movie star.
Marlena Dietrich,
Lena Horne.
Lena Horne.
And then when you get into the 80s, we're getting really more into supermodel culture. Where you had Amon and Christy Brinkley, and I guess you could also go with Cindy Crawford as you get towards close to the 90s. but you have these supermodels, and the gears start to shift towards the quote unquote the beauty standard in that
Right.
mode. But then all that makes sense on the surface. All of that you can take in and put in your pocket and ignore. But then you start to realize, and it gets covered in this documentary. This is when it starts getting real informative for me, being someone completely outside the space. It got really informative for me when you are looking at town and country,
Business.
and business is the one that really hit.
Mm-hmm.
Because in these categories, what they're aiming for is something they call realness. And it's how they can. Now I gotta see where my notes were for this, because I wanted to say this in a certain way. Because when you first look at the way they present themselves in this, it looks like satire, but it's not satire. It's emulation.
One could say, in modern terms, cosplay.
It's kind of like cosplay, but it's deeper cosplay.
Yeah.
It's not to mock anyone in a certain space, because they do business, they do school, college.
Mm-hmm.
I thought school elementary was a little weird. I digress.
They did it looked like single mom.
Right. And then they did military.
Mm-hmm.
And this again could come across like satire or mocking. And it wasn't. It's more like what I write, artificially entering a world of glamour.
Right.
Because one of the things that gets brought up a lot in this conversation that we're having with all these different people who are part of this scene is that they are disenfranchised, they are poor, and they have a heart. They are in the depths of hustle culture, doing whatever it takes to make some money to get through. So they strive towards the example that they're being given from society, which is high fashion models, TV shows where everything is surrounding the rich, shows like Dynasty, Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
All My Children, Young and the Restless. All of these, no one's glamorizing good times.
No.
Right? No one's trying to get their deluxe apartment in the sky. Everyone's trying to have their villa on their ranch or whatever. Right? So the perception of success is what most of these people are striving for, because it's what they've basically been denied, access to that world. Someone said they look at these people and their houses have 42 rooms. My house has 3.
And I think someone else was like, some of us don't even have houses.
Yeah. Because mind you, we mentioned the space is occupied by the disenfranchised, and some of the disenfranchised people are homeless.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you look outside and the world is filled with these glamorous sights and sounds, and this is the what the quote unquote good life looks like, then that is what they strive for. And when they realize that, for all the reasons we kind of mentioned before, these things are not a likelihood, they use ball culture to emulate it. Because you may not be rich and famous, but at the ball, you can sure the fuck look like it.
Yep.
And you can feel like it. You can be seen as such. And when you win an award, you feel as such.
But also some of these categories, like the school and the single mom type of thing, they're also showing off how well they can blend into the real world.
Yes. Particularly with business. This was actually specifically noted.
Mm-hmm.
I think the conversation was in a boardroom, people who are Black and brown are less likely to get those kinds of jobs, because racism exists. And then to turn around and be queer as well, welcome to all three strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So by showing that you can dress the part, at least, you can at least tell the world, you don't think I look right in this space. Look at me. I do look right in this space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, just looking back on media from the 80s and 90s, it was very rare that, quote unquote, the boss in a suit and tie was a black man.
Right.
I didn't see, like growing up, I didn't see my dad in a suit and tie. Now, granted, my dad's not the guy to typically wear a suit and tie, even if he had to. But again, that's not normal for us. So I don't think that a lot of these young black people saw a lot of people in those fancy business worlds that looked like that. Best we had was George Jefferson.
And, a little later, Cliff Huxtable.
Yeah. And that's to highlight the importance of that representation. And in the 80s, you didn't have that queer representation in public spaces where a young queer Latino kid at age 13 could just look at me and be like, I could be like him.
Mm-hmm.
I could be like her. I could be like them. And that didn't exist for them. It was hustle, 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 make money best you can. Do what it takes to make it to the next day.
Yep.
And that's where some of the importance, the impact of these categories were, because we get a sense when looking at this documentary how deep the oppression was from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
That how real was it in this space at this time for these people, that everything that we call successful, none of that was in their reach.
No.
And as we know, if you don't have access, if your grandfather didn't have access to it for one reason or another, chances are your father's not going to have access to it, which means probably you won't have access to it. So someone else your age from a different demographic is going to have all this stuff kind of sitting in the back burner waiting for them. You've got nothing to look forward to, nothing to anticipate, no safety net coming, no safety net underneath you. You're just free falling through society. And when you're free falling through society, God bless the balls in this house system. I know. This is what they called them. We're going to chuckle because you can only say balls.
God bless the balls.
And for a quick plug, Sock on the Moon this Friday is going to be hilarious because I'm going to say a whole lot more than just balls. From the author I have to talk to on Friday. I cannot wait. I digress. Check out Sock on the Moon this Friday at 11 o'clock on Sock on the Moon, the horror podcast show. You threw me off with the chuckle. But seriously, bless this system being established that this disenfranchised group of people had a place to go where they weren't just wallowing in societally induced depression.
Basically, as they free fall through society, these balls and the culture around them are a mat at the bottom so that at least they land on something soft.
Yeah.
And can walk away.
And strut.
And yes.
Boy, do they strut.
Because without that, they just splatter. And I mean, that happens. That's the real world.
This is the realness.
Without those spaces for people to land in, they do. splatter on life. That is
So keep
weird.
this in mind. Yeah, I know. Um, keep this in mind the next time you start, someone starts bitching about a pride parade,
Yeah.
because a pride parade, in a sense, is the exact same thing in my perception. And if I'm wrong, I welcome anybody to correct me at any point in time in the comments. Um, but if I'm right, to go to a space designated a designated time and space where you can exist in this space at this time in whatever way you feel best to present yourself, and then exist in the daylight, in the sunshine,
Hmm.
in public, to just fucking be. You know, some demographics take advantage, like they take advantage of that. They don't realize how good they got it to just walk down the street and just be, without worrying about a slur or an attack,
Hmm.
or you may not make it to your destination safely. You know,
And I mean, for me, like, even for me, for someone like me who is gay but is very masculine, cisgender passing, uh, I can go down the street and people aren't pointing me out or giving slurs to me, but I'm hearing them because they're talking freely about me behind my back to my face.
because they don't realize they're talking about you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who hear this, and one of the reasons, and I make this before I talk about this comparison, a lot of the conversations that Jayce and I have are comparing the struggles in the oppression against the Black culture as it also manifests in queer culture.
And the parallels are myriad.
Oh yeah, like I don't understand how there's any queer person that's racist or any Black person that's homophobic.
Yeah.
None of that shit will ever make sense to me. Imagine two people getting hit with a stick and someone getting mad because the other person's stick is bigger. Like, that's wild to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you got assaulted with a better looking weapon. How dare I? Like, stop that. Like,
Your stick is bigger. Well, yours is bladed.
right. Like, can we stop? Like I will never understand a Black person that is homophobic. And I will never understand a queer person that is racist. It will never make sense to me. It will never make sense to me. We are both here having very similar struggles. They are manifesting in our societies and our daily lives the exact same way. And while the histories may be different, the impact today, as it applies today, are strikingly similar. But there are even times where I walk down the street and I see people look at me sideways from across the street that they just crossed. Or someone who looks like me, but maybe a little bit darker. Because I also have that balance of being a light-skinned Black man. So I also have that colorism to take into consideration. I look like one of the safe ones, as they say. They still don't want me to date their daughters. They still don't want my children as their grandkids. But at least I'm not one of the darker ones. But these are the kind of things that people are actually are affecting their daily lives. So a pride parade, like, just stay home that day if you really have to. Don't go in that part of town. Let go.
And
Leave it alone.
I mean, the big difference between the Pride Parade and the ball scene is that, the Pride Parade allows people to be themselves in the open and
Publicly.
and be proud of who they are, whereas the ball scene is a place to be yourself
Safely. And that's a
peacefully.
big fucking difference. That's a
And
huge difference.
And these spaces where you can be yourself peacefully and safely are so precious. And I know the black culture's got them too.
Hmm.
Um, but like that's one thing when not just me, but I've seen so many young gay people go to a gay bar or club for the first time, and just there's this overwhelming feeling that I'm safe here. I can just exist. And it's the first time these people are, feeling this, where they don't have to put on a front. They don't have to try and be something that they're not, just to survive.
Yeah, masking is not necessary there.
And it saddens me how these spaces are going away.
Because people who are not a part of that space are getting mad because those spaces exist and they're excluded. And they're supposed to be excluded.
Yeah.
Like as a straight guy, I enjoy going to the bar and going to the club at a period of time. I want to be in bed by 9 o'clock now, or at least at home because I'm old. But beforehand, uh, that just wasn't the space for me. It wasn't my space. It's the equivalent of the cookout, the
Hmm.
proverbial cookout. That's our space to be black, black, blackity, black, black, and to feel comfortable in doing so. Uh,
And and you know, outsiders can be invited. They can come, but you know, let's say I am feeling a certain kind of way and I want my best girlfriend at the bar with me just for support. There's a difference between that and y'all having your bachelorette party there, because then it's no longer a queer space.
right. And I think we're talking about like a straight bachelorette party because
Yeah,
obviously, if there's all women involved, then welcome to the space.
it's the same thing. Like, you know, you could invite me to the picnic, to the cookout,
To the cookout.
and I could be there. I could be on my best behavior. I could make sure that I'm not being a person that makes people uncomfortable to be who they are. But I'm not gonna like bring a frat party there or something.
Right. And the difference is, and I think this is kind of like shifts in the why for both of us the spaces don't exist anymore as much as they did. Because we try to be welcoming. Just like straight people in the gay club try to be welcoming. There's
Hmm.
never I assume you don't have a membership card for being gay that you have to present at the door. Um,
I've had mine revoked.
well, shit. Um, but when you start to have other people occupy the space and they start to feel like it's their space now,
Hmm.
basically when you have company over and they don't feel like they're a guest anymore, they overstep boundaries. Because
Yeah.
there's people, we all got those friends. Uh, most of us have those friends where you go to their house and uh, they're just like, make yourself at home and that's cool. You know, you can go in their fridge and just grab a drink without having to ask. It's expected. It's cool. It's comfortable. Um, but don't forget you don't live there. Don't get too. There's still a line to draw. Don't just overstep boundaries. And I think a lot of times in these spaces, when they try to be welcoming, someone gets a little bit too comfortable. Like if you're the white dude at the cookout and you hear the N word dropped left, right, and center, keep it out your mouth.
Yeah.
Like don't fuck up. That's a great way to fuck up. Um, and while I don't support the use of slurs, I don't use the word myself, but a lot of times slurs used against a community are safe within the community, Does that make sense?
I mean, in this documentary, they use the F word like it's just another word.
Right.
The F slur.
And trust me, I think this ball scene looks fantastic. It's mind-boggling. Would I go to watch? Absolutely. I'd love to see this take place live. That doesn't mean that I'm going to start dropping F slurs because I hear everybody else saying it. I'm not stupid. And I think that there's an invasion of personal space that ends up happening. People started getting way too damn comfortable. And so what happens is we have to close off these spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And then once those spaces start getting closed off, they lose their fire. And people on the outside start getting mad. But not to drive too far away from the documentary. I still want to talk about some of the things happening in the balls. It can't be unfunny.
I was going to point out, and this is a little ahead of the thing, but there is a jump forward at the end, and we see what a ball 2 years later.
Yeah.
And the outside forces are in it. And it is not the same thing at all.
The vibe shifts, man.
You
have a good thing going and you start trying to do too much.
It's almost like when corporate people started taking over Pride.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
It's like, okay, it's no longer for us. It is a corporate sponsored charity event.
Yeah, it's like when Walmart had their Juneteenth ice cream. I'll never forget that. But one of the things about that Dorian Gray, I knew I was going to say it once. The one thing that Dorian Corey had mentioned was the ball scene in the 60s compared to the ball scene in the 80s, how now they have all these different categories and now everyone's focusing on realness. One of the things that you mentioned in your notes, Jayce, is the song Got to Be Real. Was that really?
I believe so. I mean, when you listen to it, it's like, oh, they're talking about the ball scene.
I meant to listen to that song specifically by itself, like just in isolation. It is featured in this documentary, which leads me to agree with you. But it also, it's between Got to Be Real and Vogue, and we'll talk about Vogue later. But both of those songs, it's like when you don't have the background knowledge, songs are songs. Once you learn what songs are about, opens the door. I'm gonna have to go back and sit down and listen to Got to Be Real. I wish I was pre-recording this. I'd pause it, go listen to it. But I do live shows and I don't do short ones, so. Y'all can just turn on your Amazon Music or your Spotify and listen to what we're talking.
The other thing, I don't think it might have been a voiceover from Dorian, but it wasn't during that when talking about the number of categories increasing.
Yeah.
A lot of it was to bring people from the sidelines, people that weren't seen,
to be inclusive,
and we're not talking about bringing the straight people, the white people in. We're talking about bringing the gay guys that are masculine, that don't want to be in drag, giving them a chance to compete. And they get categories where they can, like the business and
or men's fashion.
And
again, blank is not a monolith. It's the thing you're going to hear a lot in society. Get used to it, because gay is not a monolith.
It really isn't.
There is A gay person is a person who just happens to uh, be sexually attracted to the same gender as themselves. Asterisks as you go on and on through things that varies a little bit, but the queer space is not a monolith. Not every gay man is trying to walk around in a dress. That's just not the assumption. So the point here is
Yeah.
that
I mean, I am evidence.
right,
I would be super uncomfortable in drag. That's just not me.
right. So when you're in this space and you're watching this thing and it's supposed to be for you all, but that doesn't match your vibe, the vibe shifts to incorporate you, to welcome you in to the space, because that is indeed their space too. So if you're a masculine queer black man from Manhattan or wherever, um, and you want to go be part of the ball scene, and you just don't really feel comfortable wearing the boas and the makeup and the big necklaces and the dresses and the heels, because heels look uncomfortable no matter who you are. I'm sorry. I could never. My ankle hurts thinking about it right now. Just letting you know. Then what about you? Well, you deserve a space also. So they started to incorporate these different categories. And again, everything was based off realness. And realness is basically, I think it's defined in the documentary as to look as much like your straight counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing high fashion Parisian, you know, uh, a man in drag in this category, the goal is to look just as much as a real woman as a woman in high fashion in Paris. Uh, the goal is to be accurate. So to emulate, to
And at times
assimilate into
better.
that place. Oh yeah,
Like you're competing in like the college student category. You're gonna look like the best college student.
yeah. You have to look as college as possible. Like someone needs to think you just left NYU.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the game, and they are on you about the realness. Uh,
And that's how we get into reading.
it is. But before we get into reading, there's a couple notes that you made a point on as it comes to realness. Because for me, I just wrote down the definition therein, because that was pretty much the thing. But you made note that it was the importance of the white world
Mm-hmm.
and the straight world, because that's the model. That is the model then, now, and forever, it seems, of what proper society, quote unquote, looks like. The same thing exists in Black culture, and I use this for a reference as something I'm used to, where a lot of what people aim for is a proximity to whiteness,
Mm-hmm.
straight whiteness, straight Christian whiteness. Um, and that was not any different to these Black and brown queer people in this space at these balls. This is who they were going for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they equated the white world as the affluence, and even like not even rich, just like the college thing, the
boardroom.
boardroom. It's people, it's success, and I don't think it was until I'm just going through my mental notes of uh, pop culture. I don't think it was until the 90s and maybe even mid to late 90s that we started
Mhm.
getting a lot of push towards uh, what redefining what successful and black actually looks like.
Yeah, because in the 80s, you really just had the Huxtables.
Hmm.
But then you move into, I'll give credit to Family Matters,
Hmm.
because in Family Matters, it's a working class household, but it's a black family in a really nice black house, right?
Hmm.
With, mom's got a good job, dad's got a good job, the kids are well dressed, they got whatever it is that they need. They are living a middle class, call it upper middle class household. There are very few episodes where Carl, the light bill's not being paid. This wasn't a storyline. We had Carl dealing with Steve Urkel. And let's not even talk about the shit that Urkel could all of a sudden afford to build in his basement. We're talking about a neighborhood that mirrored the Tanners from Full House, and these two families were, I would say, probably equal in social standing, the Tanners and the Winslows.
Yeah,
Uh,
socially, yeah.
and again, this is going to be mid 90s. I'd say we're going into the 93, 94, 95 time frame. This was not the example at the time of this documentary. This is not the example these people grew up with. Because mind you, this is 86, 87, and they're going to be, we'll call them 20, just for rounding. They're going to be born in the 60s.
Hmm.
So they're going to be watching TV in the 70s. So they're seeing Good Times. They're seeing Fat Albert. They're watching later into the Cosby Show. We haven't even got to A Different World yet.
Right.
We're getting into those examples. And when you talk to these kids outside of the scene, when they're at their house, when they're at home, and they're talking about their influences, what do they want? They want to feel successful. They want to feel like they have affluence. They want to feel like they're rich. That is the goal. It's the thing that comes out of every single one of their mouths is, I
Yep.
want to be rich. Because that's the end game. They know another end game. And mind you, they are starting so far behind the starting line before the race starts that going to the finish line is an almost, it seems like an impossibility.
Yeah.
Unless you go to the balls.
And the balls give you the chance to emulate.
Right. To live that life as close as you can. To make that affluent existence as real as possible. To turn that fantasy into realness.
And if you get the chance to live the fantasy even for a night, I mean, that's beautiful.
It is. And I can tell you firsthand that it is. I spend a lot of time in my office because, God forbid, I take these headphones off my head and stop talking into a microphone.
You would never.
I apparently never. I dare to open my Live 360 and see how long I've been at the house. Actually, I'm going to do this because we're live. I can do this. It doesn't even tell me a time anymore. It just says you've been at home since June 17th. So last time I left to go anywhere was June 17th. What's today? Fuck me. So I've been in the house for 6 days, and we've had nowhere to go.
It's sad when the shut-in's been out more recently than you.
Right. And so, like, sure, I've got friends that I talk to. I got my family, and everything's great. Father's Day was this past weekend. I felt pretty special. It was cool. But when I go to, there's a convention that I go to, and when I go there, I stand out. I feel like I'm in my element because I'm with a bunch of other writers, podcasters, filmmakers, creatives, and I'm amongst my people. And when I'm there, the world's a wholly different place for me. I feel different there. I feel comfortable there. I feel special there. And even if I'm up for an award there. And even if I don't win, I was nominated there. And I still have that kind of like that shadow that casts over me. I'm walking around with a backpack with my book in it, that if someone decides to purchase, they could. And
so there you are living the creative success.
I am. And it feels so good. One of the things that they talk about the ball scene is that it is addictive.
Mm-hmm.
To be successful in this space is addictive. It's a different kind of high. And I can't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons why I plan my Imaginarium trip, my next Imaginarium trip at Imaginarium. Like, I'll plan for Imaginarium 2027 prior to leaving Imaginarium 2026. And that is just an addictive place. It's a place where I feel comfortable. I'm with like-minded people. I feel safe there. I feel like all the things that society holds against me doesn't exist in this space. And that is the most modern day personal equivalent I can think of. Because when these people talk about being within the walls of this ballroom, right? They are home. Some of them quite literally. They live there. And if they don't reside there, their heart, their soul lives there. Their truest form exists within those walls. And as we mentioned earlier, to have a space like that, to
Mm-hmm.
exist in a world like that, particularly when you don't otherwise have it, when you have to travel to it and you only get it for a short period of time, you grasp onto those moments.
And they say that they put more effort into these balls than people do, like for Super Bowl.
Yeah,
for the Academy Awards.
And they make an Oscar comparison a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at glamorous lifestyles, you're looking at movie stars, right? And when you think about movie stars and the most glamorous lives, the ones that are winning awards, those top soap operas and those famous movies, who what are they achieving? Their top achievement is an Emmy or a Grammy or an Oscar. And so they look at the trophies for realness that they win in these categories the same exact way. This is their Academy Awards, but it's not the work that they've done over the last year. It's the work that they do in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
They get on their playing field, their football field, if you will, and they, run the 100 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's closer to a Super Bowl,
right? So this is the thing that they aim for, they shoot for, and that just tells you how important all this is to their day to day. And I highlight that to such a degree because obviously when you have, we just had the NBA finals not too long ago. These football spring league, that league, the UFL, they just had their championship. Shout out to the Louisville Kings because we won. And, the Super Bowl was back in February. these are anyone who watches these sports and particularly these championship rounds, you realize that like this shit gets heated, and everyone's taking this shit very seriously, and there's bound to be some shade thrown. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Nice segue.
Thank you so much. I was really proud of that. And you know, that's no different here either. But before you get to shade, you get to reading. You want to go into what reading's about?
So reading is something for people who watch like drag shows or Drag Race. A lot of people watch Drag Race. So they would be familiar with reading. Reading it's an art. It's an art of finding the flaws and imperfections in someone and pointing them out, usually comedically.
Yeah. That would be the equivalent for my straight black brothers and sisters. This is the Dozens.
I have not heard that term.
Dirty Dozens?
Mm-mm.
Think of Yo Mama So Fat.
Okay.
Yeah. This is between Your Mama So Fat jokes and looking ass jokes. You know, bald head looking ass, crooked nose looking ass, socks 2 different color, feet 2 different size looking ass. That kind of thing. It's the same thing where you would look at someone, and if you're going to insult them, sure. If you called me something that I'm obviously not, I'm not going to be as impacted by that. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't apply to me. Now, you start pointing out the things that I'm wearing or how I actually look, well, that's going to hurt. Because that's real. That's right there in front of me. You're basically reading me like a book and ripping out the pages that you don't like and showing them off to me.
Like bringing up one of the characters that we haven't discussed yet, Pepper LaBeija. That would be like me going, "You are a Wesley Snipes looking motherfucker."
Right. Really did look like Wesley Snipes though. Tu Wong Fu is not a movie we're doing in this series, but damn good movie. Go back and, in fact, let me just side note: if you haven't watched Tu Wong Fu in a long time, go back and watch it. Just go back. I feel like rewatching that movie as an adult is just different. Go back and rewatch Tu Wong Fu. Shout out Wesley Snipes.
But yeah, that's what reading would be. Me pointing out that Pepper looks like Wesley Snipes.
Right. No shade to Pepper LaBeija.
Right.
Speaking of shade.
Shade is, instead of doing it in a funny comedic way, it's doing it in a bitchy
what's the word? Conniving sort of way. Not quite.
To quote something that I think it was Dorian said, is that I don't have to tell you you're ugly. You know you're ugly. I can just look at you and tell you that I know you know you're ugly.
Right. Shade is an example shown in this documentary. There was a category of men's fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And someone complained to the judge that the mink coat or the fur coat that the contestant was wearing was a woman's coat as opposed to a man's coat. And like to hear someone yelling, "The buttons are on this side," because that's a common thing with fashion. Something, menswear, they'll put the buttons on one side versus the other.
Right.
And that's how you distinguish whether it was designed for a man or designed for a woman. Doesn't make any sense to me. If you can explain that to me, designers, clothes makers, feel free to just
arbitrary gendering.
Right. If you let me, do I have access to this? I sure do. If you can explain that to me, go ahead and just send me an email at dlhearnwrites@gmail.com. Just go ahead and just do that. I use this for Moon Eagles Wrestling. Yeah, let me know because I'm
Artificial
flabbergasted.
gendering is just a whole different topic.
It really is. It's like why women's pants have fake pockets. Don't get me started. It's to buy purses. But yeah, this stuff gets harsh, and you wouldn't put that kind of effort in unless the win was that important.
Mm-hmm.
If it was an arbitrary competition, or if everybody's on like equal playing field, or people are just kind of like happy to be involved, because to take example, because this is the only real place where I feel like I've succeed regular, or I like compete regularly for these categories at Imaginarium for film awards and such. If I don't win, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I don't think he wrote that himself. Like, I'm not going to do that, right? That would be the equivalent of shade.
Yeah.
Like, I bet AI did it. Oh, I can imagine that happening. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Could you imagine the shade that would be thrown at Imaginarium if they participated like it was a ball?
I feel like I should write that, but I don't need one more. I don't need an extra project. Still might.
I'm sorry.
I half thought of it before you said anything. Don't worry about it. Because as soon as I said it, I'm like, I could write that.
I mean, you've already said that Imaginarium is your ball.
It is. It is.
I mean,
it's never not funny.
Well, I mean, and now that you have this contextually, this documentary, and you know all this, I mean, I think it might impact how you see it.
It will be interesting to go to Imaginarium this year and just observe, right? Before getting involved, observe. Because there's a little bit of peacocking. Actually, now I think about it a little bit further, there's a lot of peacocking. Because on the tables when you do panels, usually someone has, you don't normally carry on a nameplate, but you'll put like your book on a stand as an example of, hey, I'm an author on this topic. Here's my book to kind of show that. But there was a couple of instances where someone decided to take their entire section of table and put all of their books on there. It's just like, we get it. You wrote 1,000 books. You don't have to put all 1,000 books on the table to display. We have people who make their booths, and they do their booths.
See, you just read them.
Elaborate, right? They make the most elaborate displays for their booth where they sell their merchandise and their stuff, and it's peacocking. It's no different. It's the same kind of. I'm sure I'm going to recontextualize all of Imaginarium after this documentary. But isn't that the point of documentaries? Just to kind of take a break from that.
So, are you saying that Paris is Burning has pushed the needle on your life?
I can see where it has opened the door to me to look at the world around me in a different way. Mm-hmm. Which I think is the ultimate point of any successful documentary.
And as I said that, I put my hand to my face like like I was telling a secret, which nobody could see.
Right, nobody can see that. You did that for you, completely. Speak no evil, looking boy. But no, like, so that's the point of the series, but also the point of a successful documentary, mm-hmm. to take a person who may not otherwise be informed and present information about a space or time or subject to people who are otherwise unaware in a way that makes you not only more informed about the things we just told you, but equally change your perspective on the world around you. And as I've kind of demonstrated, that has changed my perception of the world around me. Don't get me wrong, everyone in Imaginarium is safe from shade. Mostly.
I can see the shade.
There might be some
umbrella.
reading. There might be some reading. If I start calling people out randomly walking behind your booth, understand it's for documentary purposes. It's just podcast research. Don't get mad.
But I mean, but shade is something. I mean, you've said it a couple of times just as a casual term in this podcast already. It's part of the lexicon now.
It is. So when you think about throwing shade, and you hear people talking about throwing shade, welcome to its origins.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
when you talk about reading people.
Mm-hmm. So all you straight white dudes who be talking about throwing shade at people, haha.
Guess what?
Yeah. The next time you hear a homophobic person talk about throwing shade, haha, you're welcome.
And I want to put a bookmark in this because it gets into the cultural appropriation thing that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Because
so
they're two sides of the same coin.
True. So one of the things that we have not done in this conversation with the documentary, we've talked about none of the people involved except for Dorian Corey, haha, said it right, and Pepper LaBeija.
Mm-hmm.
But these names are important, right?
Yes.
There's a reason why the name of Dorian Corey is Dorian Corey and Pepper LaBeija is Pepper LaBeija. They belong to houses. Which anyone is familiar with the
We skipped voguing.
I did on purpose. I want to get back to it. I want to frame this and then go into that.
Okay. Cool.
Anyone's familiar with me knows about the Bourbon Triad. Shout out to Brittany Morgan and Michelle Black. And we have, as our sections of the Bourbon Triad, we've named our houses, right? Anyone familiar with Game of Thrones? I think there's like a house of something or other. I didn't watch it. But we know this in history, the House of Tudor, the House of Windsor. These are things that were said when establishing sort of your foothold in a space. And okay. Sako talking about my car bar. I have to restock the car bar, side note. But yeah, we have these houses, and the people who are successful in the balls and in the pageantry, they lead, and they lead the upcoming people who are aiming for legendary status, if you will. And there were several houses. Did I write all these down?
I think you did. You were reading them off, but can you find them now?
No. There are some. There's the House of Corey. There's the House of Pendavis. Looks like Pendavis. It's Davis. LaBeija, Extravaganza. There's the House of Ninja. There's the House of I Need to Take Better Notes. Dupree. Overness. Saint Laurent.
Saint Laurent. That's the one I was trying to bring up. It was like it was designer.
Yeah. And again, this was a reflection of what they viewed as successful. Saint Laurent, Dupree, not Pendavis, which is how it's spelled, Pendavis. It's the use of the exaggeration. extravaganza. It's how these names are pronounced, presented, and thus how the people are presented and present themselves. All of this has to do with this high fashion, high dollar version of what success looks like.
Because they all sound like designers.
Yeah. And they present themselves in much the same way. And then in this structure, you have the people who lead their clans, sorts, because it was mentioned that house is a family. It was also compared to a street gang.
Yes.
Like, gay street gang. That's how Dorian Corey clarified houses. And a house has its mother or father. Some houses have fathers. Because again, not everything here is, femifront. But under these parents of sorts, you have the children. So all these grown-ass adults who are participating with their affiliations to one house or another are referred to as children. I wish they explained this a little bit earlier in the documentary, because I just thought they were talking about young people for about 20, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to a point where they actually start explaining this. I'm just like, I get it. It's a title. Okay. I'm on board. Same page. So yeah. Do you want to go? Was there anything that I missed out? Left out of the house stuff?
Well, you're talking about the mothers, and they're not just, big winners. They are big winners of these balls, but they're also in that position because they put forth the work. They tend to their children. They give them love and opportunity that they don't have anymore. Like,
talk about that.
These kids, we're talking children, not just in the age sense, but just a lot of
like
them,
an underling of sort.
Yeah,
like an apprentice almost.
These are people who, they're queer people. They have been, most of them, especially at this time, have come out and no longer have a family because they came out of the closet. And these mothers, they take them in. They protect them. They say, I will care for you. I will give you the love that your biological family no longer will.
And this is something that is still prevalent today.
Yeah.
While there's a lot of conversations about one political view versus another, and how all of a sudden your family disowns you because you voted for so-and-so. Sometimes you lose family just by admitting you are yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does happen still very, very often today.
Yeah, enough to where it's just kind of a thing that's done. Like we just know that it is. We know that. Just society at large, if we hear about it, then we acknowledge it as a thing that happened, a thing that needs to stop happening. As a parent, I cannot clarify this enough. You loved your kid on Tuesday, they came out on Wednesday, you better love that motherfucker just as strong on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your child. And as a parent, I am pissed. It angers me as a parent to hear anyone say, you can't be part of this family anymore. I want to go back to last week's episode, as we were talking about the movie But I'm a Cheerleader,
mm-hmm.
where two families were like, you either, for those who may have missed the episode, go back and watch it, feel free. But the gist of the movie takes place at a conversion camp where they're trying to do
Conversion therapy.
Thank you very much. Conversion therapy to make gay people not gay anymore or whatever. And the families came in for like family therapy time, and a couple of them have said, you either convert or you're out of the family, or we don't know you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a prevalent, honest thing that happens, and that's why a lot of people are, we can bring it back to Paris is Burning. This brings forth the reason why would it be so important to practice realness. Why would it be so important to be able to emulate your straight counterparts? This is why. Some people can't afford to live on their own. They need their mother and their father. Some of the kids they talked to were literal children of like age 13.
Mm-hmm. 13 and 15.
So imagine being 13, 15, and then like you worry that because you know your parents well enough, they're not going to accept you, especially at a time when this was not a thing to socially accept. We're talking the mid 80s at the time of this documentary being made, like mid going into the late 80s. This was not a socially acceptable thing in general society. Right. So this is commonplace. It's why this safe haven for them was so important.
And that's another thing that these houses were. They were families.
They were families.
They were surrogate families.
Does your brother and your mother and your father and your sister ignore you, dismiss you? Do they kick you out of the house? Do you need a place to stay? Do you need to eat? Do you need clothes on your back? Do you need help to get off the ground? And a lot of the people involved in this documentary said just as much, that when their families kicked them out, when they had nowhere else to go, the mothers fed them, mm-hmm. clothed them, sheltered them, helped them till they were able to get up on their own feet.
So when you talk about the mother of a house, you're talking about a matriarch who actually fucking cares,
who understands the struggle, that understands what you've been through, and is willing to say, I'll love you.
Mm-hmm.
Your family won't love you, I'll love you. And there's a trend, and I hate to call it a trend because I want to believe that the people involved are genuine. There is a trend now where it's popular for people to say, hey, if your dad doesn't love you because you came out, I'll be your dad now. I'll hold that family role.
I don't think I've ever seen that not be genuine.
Again, I agree. And I've not seen it not be genuine either. I think these people truly understand that struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And they truly feel that if it's just something like, even if it's just symbolic, and it's just to know that someone in this world sees me as I am and loves me regardless. For everything I either have as a fault or see as a fault. And they'll love me regardless.
I think it's one of the most beautiful things about this documentary is how much they truly care about each other.
Because you can go through all the pageantry. Pageantry's cool. You can, I'll make an Imaginarium comparison again, because that's my reference point. You can do all the competitions you want to. The panels are cool. But some of the most fun I have at Imaginarium involves sitting in the lobby of the hotel with other people, whether I know them or not, and going to the room parties, whether I know the people there or not, and just existing with people who are like-minded.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like family, and it doesn't take a lot. Like when you take in someone, quote unquote, as family, I don't necessarily have to buy your dinner. I don't have to burp you when you finish eating. I'm not going to change your diaper. I love y'all. I don't love y'all that much. But it's that establish of comfort and care and love. And it takes so little effort to do. Genuinely does.
Interesting. We have that same thing on a day-to-day. Our ball is the flip side.
It's Discord.
It's Discord. We are House Linda.
That's a Doctor Who reference for all our Who fans. And we are kind of the House of Linda in a sense. And
like, we are a house, but part of that ball culture.
Yeah. And that's a fair comparison. I think that's a fair comparison. And this show is taking place because the love and respect that we have for each other led Jayce to have this idea and present it. I'm like, fuck, let's run with it. I'll start booking this shit like tomorrow. And like we had the idea, a weekend went through. He hit me up on a Monday. He's like, so that idea from last week. I'm like, are you in? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. First episode's tomorrow. That's how fast this came together. I do see Jayce like a brother, and we share a brain cell, so maybe we can join twins. I'm sure I'm not the pretty one, but that is how this family culture, this house culture works as it's presented in this documentary, that people can just find each other in this common space and bond and feel comfortable, feel safe, feel like they can be themselves, be honest and open. Shout out to Mint, the other part of this House of Linda. And we share some shit that's weird watching Doctor Who. Mostly Mint, we love you, but I'm still waiting for that book. And like, again, none of that makes sense to any of you all, but that's like inside baseball kind of thing. And that just tells you how close the house has gotten. And that's what these houses do for the people in them. And before we go too deep into the details of the houses, because that's really the gist of it, the lines. You mentioned cultural appropriation a moment ago. And we were talking about this a little bit before we started. Can you go and reshare that with people?
I do. Well, actually, this kind of fits as a sort of segue into it.
Go for it.
Because Mother has been taken up by Gen Z in the same sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They refer to celebrities as mother. And
Gaga being one that I see referenced more specifically amongst young
Gaga, Taylor Swift, and I mean RuPaul, obviously, but RuPaul actually counts.
Yeah.
I mean, Mama Ru is Mama Ru. But what they're talking about, and it applies because it actually fits in with Mother of the House, is they're referring to these celebrities as people who are protective of their flock. Like, these are celebrities who care deeply about their fans and about the well-being. And so, some might say it's cultural appropriation, but I think they're actually using it correctly.
So when we talk about cultural appropriation, for just in broad scale. We're talking about someone from outside a community um, getting involved in basically someone getting involved in a community that they don't belong a part of. Um, one of the reasons why I don't typically wear my ulafala because I'm not Samoan. I understand the significance of the ulafala to Samoan culture. All wrestling fans understand what it means in broad symbolism, but you're never going to see me just walking down the street wearing an ulafala, right? If I'm in a wrestling space for a specific wrestling purpose, I will for specific wrestling purposes. But when I acquired one, I made sure to take time to learn about the ulafala. It is a symbolic necklace of leadership in Samoan culture. So leading a tribe or a family, the head of that family would be symbolized by wearing the ulafala. Wrestling fans understand the ulafala as a sign that Roman Reigns is the tribal chief. That's how it all plays into each other.
Now I remember.
Right. So the symbolism of an ulafala is deep into Samoan culture, not just pro wrestling, but now it's also symbolic in pro wrestling. So I wouldn't just blindly wear an ulafala without understanding where it comes from. But if I had Samoan neighbors and they saw me wearing my Samoan ulafala, they probably would have some shit to say to me. And rightfully so. They would they'd have every reason to immediately believe that I'm just some dude who watches some wrestling and thinks ulafalas look cool and maybe look like a champion, so I wear it, ignoring this cultural significance to their life. Because that's the difference. It's a documentary to me. It was life to Pepper LaBeija, to Willie Ninja, to Dorian Corey, to Angie Extravaganza. This was life,
right,
to them. They wanted their existence to be reflected from this culture.
And the thing I remember that brought me to that, speaking of that, is part of why I think this documentary should be shown to like high school students, like as a cultural requirement almost, is because they use the queer, the drag, the ball terminology without even knowing where it comes from. And I'm not one of the people that is like, oh, that's our word, you're not allowed to use it. No, I want you to know where it comes from so you have some respect on your lips when you say it.
Right. And that's what it all boils down to. It boils down to respect. And I think that's what a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
When it comes to conversations about cultural appropriation, people do blindly use it without respect. Again, to use the reference of the ulafala, because of course everything comes back to wrestling. I could just be like, hey, that wrestler wears it, I'm gonna wear one too, and just cosplay as Roman. And then when some Samoan dude gets mad at me, I'm just looking at it like, hey man, this is just my costume, man. I don't even know why you mad. Because I completely ignored what is something incredibly significant to his way of life. And if I present it in such a way, if I wear that ulafala in any space, I'm going to acknowledge fans of Roman Reigns know why that was funny. I'm going to acknowledge that history. I'm going to acknowledge the importance of this symbol out of respect to the culture it's from.
It's sort of the difference between walking around in Native American in a Native American headdress and walking around in jewelry handcrafted by natives.
Yeah.
One is disrespecting them and one is honoring them.
Yeah. And there is a way that a non-native person can turn around and honor a culture that they may not be a part of. I find learning about cultures to be incredibly fascinating.
Which is why Zach Morris is trash.
Zach Morris is trash. I love that series. I wish I could bring that back. That's why my character in Such As Life, his name is Zach Morris. It was that exact same series. He's not trash though. But that's the time and effort it takes to understand and appreciate the source. Because again, both of us walked into this documentary like, all right, cool. It's going to be about drag pageants.
Yep.
And learned so much more. So much more that I'm not going to be able to look at anyone trans or in drag the same way ever again.
Right.
I'm going to see this so differently now. And again, I think that's the entire purpose of a successful documentary.
Mm-hmm. And I will repeat, everyone needs to watch this.
Absolutely.
It's on Tubi.
Because of course it is. And so yeah, definitely watch it. I actually did a search as I was looking into verification that Paris is Burning was the name of a ball, a specific like annual ball.
Mm-hmm.
And there are places that are showing it, like publicly. None that I immediately saw in Louisville, some in Lexington, and I may have missed a date already. But you can watch it on your own. Watch it on Tubi. I suggest watching it twice. Like it's so deep, it's so informative.
Do we want to get into voguing?
Yeah. I was dialing this up with the cultural appropriation part.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you heard of voguing, and there's a lot of voguing in this documentary. There's a lot of voguing in these spaces. And if you're like me, you've only been exposed to Vogue in 2 iterations. 1, a magazine, and 2, a song by Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 are connected with voguing.
Yes.
In drag culture.
So the magazine came first.
Mm-hmm.
The act of voguing, which, okay, let's get into the act. Madonna's song came third.
Right.
The act of voguing, it's throwing shade in dance form.
Remember, like when you see like someone being sarcastic about street gangs and street fights, and they're like, "We should just dance it out instead of actually fighting, trying to kill each other." It's like that, but with sharper hand motions.
Yeah, and it's fierce, and it is competitive, but it's also fabulous.
Yeah.
And when was it Willie Ninja or was it someone else?
Willie Ninja.
That showed the moves. The compact moves.
Yeah, that was Willie.
Where he's basically, it's like a mixture of dance and miming and popping and break dancing.
The music video to Vogue by Madonna doesn't do voguing justice. Like, that's Vogue as a commercial dance, but it doesn't really show the depth of voguing.
It is interpretive dance. It is telling a story with your hand motions.
I think
and your body.
Mm-hmm.
What were you saying?
Willie Ninja was one that was like big in He's the head of the House of Ninja. And he was the one that was outside voguing by a tree, showing himself, looking into a compact, applying makeup. And then he says, I'll take that and then I'll flip it around. I'll flip the compact around like it's a mirror. And now I'm highlighting all the things I see wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interpretive dance. That is storytelling. That is the drag ball equivalence of in-ring storytelling. Everything comes back to wrestling. And if you want to come back for wrestling, you can come back to this exact channel and catch Moon Equals Wrestling at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm bad at cheap plugs. Actually, I'm actually good at them now. But there was a conversation where the community had some mixed feelings about Madonna's Vogue.
And let's get into the backstory, because Madonna was introduced to the ball culture when she was in New York working on her music by two of the House Extravaganza.
Would it have been like Angie and Danny?
No, it was two others.
Mm-hmm.
But she fell in with the crowd. She went to the balls. She fell in love with them. She talked to a producer, and they decided to make this song as just a B-side tribute to ball culture. Like, it was not supposed to be a big thing. It was supposed to be, hey, we love you. This song's for you.
Right.
And the music industry decided, no, this is a hit song. It's going to be your single.
And it was a banger.
It was a banger.
It still is a banger. Like, Vogue is still a banger.
But, and, you know, a good 50% of the ball community heard it, saw it for what it was, and were like, this is amazing. Thank you for this. This is a gift to us to show the world. And Vogue came out a few months before Paris is Burning.
Yeah. It's an acknowledgement of, I would say that it's like an acknowledgement, like, thank you for seeing us and respecting our existence.
But there's also another half of the ball community that were like, what gives this straight white woman the right to make a song about us, to put us up front as if we're hers?
Yeah, and then individually making money from it.
Mm-hmm. And let's face it, both are valid. I'm not going to say that they're wrong, because that's what they feel. That's, you know.
And there's a fair point there. If someone was to take my work or Jayce's work and change it up in such a way that they uniquely and individually made money from it, without necessarily any money coming back to, source material, that is appropriating my trademark in cases of writing or filmmaking. And I'd feel a certain type of way about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also tributes.
Yeah.
You know what? There's actually a really good valid wrestling equivalence to this.
Of course there is.
Because of course there is. Wrestling finishers. Wrestling finishers are how the big grand move that a wrestler will end a match with before winning. And a very popular move from back in the day was the Stone Cold Stunner, right? And I'm not going to describe the Stone Cold Stunner. Go look at the Stone Cold Stunner. But there is a tradition in wrestling where you don't use someone else's finisher. Imagine if Jayce was a professional wrestler and he has this incredibly popular finishing maneuver, right? The
It's
signature
called
move,
My Back Is Out.
right? And then I come around and I use it and I get it over. I take what he created, what he thought out, I mimicked it and then took it and made money from it, right? Jayce has a reason to feel a certain type of way about that. There's another vantage point where he could see that as, oh, this wrestler appreciated me so much. He was such a fan that he wanted to use my move in tribute. On the surface, it looks the exact same.
Right.
It really has to do with either how they feel about it or what I say about it. And both are valid if they don't match.
And both can be true. Like in Madonna's case, she meant it as a tribute. The end result was the appropriation.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her for that. That's just the way life does that sometimes. Fame does that sometimes. It blows something that you didn't want blown up.
And it bees like that. So there usually should be a conversation prior. It's like, hey, I'm going to put this song out. How do you feel about it? And again, some people are going to, the right people might like it. Other people might still feel a certain type of way. Your feelings are still valid.
Because, I mean, as you say, they're not a monolith.
Right. And some people are just going to feel a certain way about certain things.
And that's the same reason you get Twitter the way it is, or X the way it is, with people calling out cultural appropriation for this, that, and the other.
Yeah. Yeah. A white dude doing rap is not cultural appropriation. Chill out.
Right.
It's not that serious. Y'all just mad because Eminem is really dope.
Oh, I thought it was about Robert Van Winkle being dope.
No, he's still hanging out with the Irish. Not the Irish, the Amish. That was a real TV show. I swear to God it was. I watched it. I swear to God. They were his people. Like it's a whole thing. But no, like there's a lot of times where, again, Eminem, that's actually a good example. Eminem was deep into rap culture, right? He grew up in a space very similar to the other kids around him who were rapping. He found rap as a way of expressing himself like the other people who were immediately around him. And he rapped about the real shit that he was dealing with, like the other kids around him. He grew up in that space. He grew up with those people. He associated with those people. And he got recognized. And when he got, seen and signed, he brought his people up with him. He didn't just like point back and go, hey. But some people to this day still want to hate on Eminem. Or as the rap community will typically say, they hate on the white boy because there's only one. As if there's only one. There are so many.
There are.
We don't claim Kid Rock anymore, though.
Yeah. That's no.
You can go ball with the ball your damn self all the way over there. But seriously, though, Like, this is where we get into recognizing a culture. And again, let's clarify. A culture is a group of people who have a like-minded experience.
Right.
That it's not necessarily a class or race or religious thing. This counts as a culture.
Yeah, culture is a culture.
Yeah, ball culture is a culture. Queer culture is a culture. Trans culture is a culture, even amongst, individually within itself. And it's important to understand that while we're talking about cultural appropriation, someone might even get mad at me for doing this series as a straight dude, right? But I'm not doing this to take credit and trust me, I'm not making any money off this. But I do this in honor of all the people around me who aren't heard, who aren't seen.
And you're doing it at the request, not really insistence, because you were super willing to do it. Behest of a queer friend who wanted to introduce you to this culture, to these impactful things.
And nothing would have made me sit down and watch Paris is Burning. There's just, if I'm just flipping through a screen of movies on Tubi, because obviously, there's nothing that would make me stop. I typically watch horror.
Listen.
Right. Still the wrong one. It's not the wrong one. And because I look for horror. So I look for dark, sharp lettering. I look for blood splatter. I look for creepy houses. And that's where I'm like, yeah, that's how I spend a Saturday afternoon. Cool. And nothing would have made me stop and check out Paris is Burning. I'm glad I did. I enjoyed watching Brokeback Mountain. I enjoyed watching But I'm a Cheerleader. And going back to the first movie we reviewed, we talked about how amongst straight people to sit down and watch, particularly straight guys, to sit down and watch Brokeback Mountain was a societally unwelcome confession.
Ridiculed.
It was ridiculed. Like, I bet you watched Brokeback Mountain. And you were labeled and you were criticized, you were judged. And depending on where you were in the country, harm may have come your way. Because as we've discussed, it's not always safe to be out.
It's not always safe to show empathy.
Yeah.
Even if you are completely cis, straight, white Christian male.
Yeah. Because there's just one more thing to throw against you. They'll just cause. And when you get a mob who thinks that you're the other, yelling, I'm straight, I'm straight, I'm straight, it's not going to stop the mob from doing what mobs do.
Right.
So it wasn't safe. And I think it's one of the reasons why it's important for Jayce and I in particular to come together, do this series, and have these conversations so that someone who may have grown up like me can say, okay, he's taken the bullet for us in a sense. Like, you know how you go to the amusement park and you see that weird, scary ride. You need that one friend to just go ahead and just ride on it. And when the friend comes back, it's like, it's not so bad. It's fun. Not so bad. It's like, oh, so we can go ahead and, yeah, we'll go ahead and go. And we'll all go do it now. Because now you've seen someone do it. You've seen it done. And it seems more obtainable. Right? So maybe this series and other series like it, because I'm sure I'm not the only one, particularly in Pride Month. I'm not the only straight guy talking about queer culture. So maybe between myself and whoever else is out there doing the same thing, those who are just unintroduced can just reach the hand out and say hello.
Mm-hmm.
You know, realize that queer culture is not scary. There's nothing wrong with you for enjoying it, enjoying the media, and that the people are just people. Like you're a people, and I'm a people. It's okay. Everything is fine. But there's a realness that we need to get into. Go ahead.
And you can take in the media and learn about the people and not go through the initiation ritual.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Can we stop like being like, I can't watch or do that, or I don't want to touch a rainbow because they're just trying to make us gay? Can we stop that bullshit, please? Dear
Please.
fucking God, can we stop? Like, I know good and well, I know me well enough, I won't get vulgar. I don't want to get vulgar. But there's nothing that has made me unstraight in watching these movies. My wife has nothing to fear. It's fine.
I can watch all the black movies out there and it's not going to make me less white.
Right. Like, breathe, people. Like, I can't believe they're putting all these queer things on TV and all these rainbows in Target. Black folk ain't at Target no way still anyway.
I'm laughing at Amanda.
I know. I'm not doing it. But if your kids walk past a rainbow display at Walmart, they're not going to just suddenly be gay. Little Susie's not going to be suddenly looking up Sandra's dress. Breathe, okay?
And
even
if she does, she probably was before she saw that sign.
She just took that as an opportunity. She just felt more comfortable now in doing it. She was going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. No one's trying to convert your children. You're still going to go to your Catholic mass or your Christian church. It's fine. Jesus is not going to stop loving you. It's fine. As a Christian myself, the last time I checked, I'm supposed to love my neighbor as Christ loved me. Christ loved me in whatever garb I present myself to. I walked to the church when I confessed my commitment to Christ. The church literally said, come as you are, to be who you are in this moment and come be right by God. Last I checked, yeah, I'm getting a little religious. As last I checked, God doesn't make mistakes. He made me perfect. And it's my faith to believe that he made me perfect and made Jayce perfect. And if Jayce's perfection makes Jayce gay, gay is perfect for Jayce. And I'm not the one who's going to question Christ. Y'all want to question Christ? Feel free. I'll see y'all at judgment. I ain't going to be in that line. It ain't going to be me. I don't know how you all were taught, but I was taught that everything that I've seen in this documentary is perfectly fine. That the real crime in this documentary isn't how flamboyant these men are as they're wearing women's clothes. The problem is society that forces them into these warehouses where this is the only place in the world that they can feel comfortable. That's the crime in this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrongdoing in this documentary.
Right.
The wrongdoing in But I'm a Cheerleader was a mother and a father who was given the charge of caring for a child, giving that child an ultimatum of love, weaponizing parental love. That was what was wrong in that movie, not being a lesbian.
Right.
Conversion therapy and trying to force your child to be something that they're not so that you feel better, that's wrong. Not them living their life and loving who they like. That's what was wrong. The men in Brokeback Mountain cheating on their wives, that was wrong. I got
that. Yeah.
My defense of previous media kind of stops there. But to all the people who are like, but my religion says, no, it doesn't. And that's what pisses me off. No, it doesn't. Christians follow Christ. That's New Testament, not Old. The Leviticus alone. It's New Testament, not Old. New Testament tells you to follow the examples of Christ and be loving to whoever is there, to feed the poor, to heal the sick.
Be loving to those who need loving.
Yeah.
Like a mother.
Like a mother. If you can't love your child and Angie Extravaganza shows up and loves your child better, you're the one that fucked up.
Mm-hmm. And Angie Extravaganza would love your child better.
She would. God rest her soul. I think I read that she passed. Yeah. Yes. March 31st, 1993. But one of those children that Angie loved, and I wanted to get into this.
Yes.
It really is. It is. And there's a whole other conversation, a whole different podcast I can do about that. About biblical translations and how that's fucked people over. Looking at you, Revised Standard Version. You tried. You tried, Revised Standard Version. You did. You fucked up and you tried. But other people took the mistake also.
But to the face that we're looking at right now.
To this face, this person who I didn't realize was a white girl. I didn't know that. Because it's all in black and white and it's got that sepia kind of tint on it.
I'm wondering, I think Venus might be Latina.
Quite possibly.
Because I think most of House Extravaganza was Latina.
Well, I remember that's who is on that's who you've been looking at the entire time. You've been hearing our wonderful voices, but you've been looking at the face of Venus Extravaganza. And I'm gonna see if I can do some live research because Jesus wept, and that's what I do. Too damn young. 23. Died at 23.
Horribly
died at 23. And while ethnicity is a literal footnote, her parents were Italian American and
Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
So that's where the olive skin.
But now but I also want to make sure that we're not referring to their house parents.
Right.
So asterisks. Because that also fits the Hector and Angie.
Yeah.
Also fit those bills. So could be either way.
Well, I think that's part of why she was accepted into House Extravaganza.
I'm looking at her brother's biological last name, and that is looking very Italian. Pelagatti? Yeah. Pelagatti. There's a documentary that I might actually have to check out. It's a 2024 documentary called I'm Your Venus. It says that her biological brothers, John, Joe, and Louis, discuss her early life and their evolving understanding of her gender identity. I feel like that would be an interesting, just a side note. Of course, the man is going to try to do. We said it. We caught it. But again, I wanted to make sure it wasn't someone writing an article. This is Wikipedia. So it very well could have been the discussion of their house parents, who would also be Italian and Puerto Rican, versus her actual parents. So because there's no explicit differential, I put an asterisk there. We got it, though. Thank you, Amanda. But I'm gonna have to check that one out. I'm Your Venus. I don't know where it's public, but I digress. One of the reasons we want to talk about Venus Extravaganza in particular is because this documentary ends with the story of Venus Extravaganza. Literally is just all the time. And
2 years after the events of, or the main filming.
Yeah, so they talk about it in 99. The death
89.
occurred in 89, thank you. And the death occurred in 88, late 88. And we're talking to the extravaganzas. We're talking about the influence the extravaganza, the House of Extravaganza has in the culture. One of the terrible five houses was a branch off of the House of Corey, where Dorian Corey was from our primary narration had founded. And Angie was under Dorian Corey, and then Angie started alongside Hector, founded the House of Extravaganza, and then they adopted Venus into the house. And as the documentary ends, the documentary talks about how Venus was found in a hotel room under a bed.
Yeah, under a bed, strangled to death.
Just imagine trying to be yourself in a space that's already hard enough to be yourself, and in retaliation, someone murders you and literally disregards you. Like they literally discarded her under a bed in a hotel.
Early on in the 87 portion, she was taught, because she's featured a lot. Like you see her talking and interacting, and she talked about, like, she, in their words, hustled.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the few things that they could do to survive. And she talked about how once in a while she would be hustling and come across a guy who reached down there and found, to be blunt, a penis.
Mm-hmm. I'm not monetized, it's fine.
And flipped out on her. And she talked about how, it was her dream to, have the surgery to become more fully woman physically, and, have the white picket fence, have the wedding, wear white down the aisle. She wanted to be a wife.
She wanted to have that impression. Again, this goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of this episode. She wanted what everyone else seemingly wanted. At the end, when we go into all this, at the end of the documentary, there's Octavia. What house was Octavia part of?
Oh, I had it. It was Saint Laurent.
Yeah, Octavia Saint Laurent. So two people from two different houses want exactly the same thing from their lives. They just want to live happy, successful lives. And we still have people today who picture the white picket fence, the big house with the wife, kids, and 2.5 children, where you could have a fucking kid, I don't know. But and that's still the definition of what successful life is.
And the only thing that separated them from the rest of the people that wanted those were what they were born with between their legs.
And their access to those things. Because mind you, we're still dealing with disenfranchised poor people.
True.
And, in the last 10 years, I've still dealt with people who will go through hell and high water just to have the husband and the kids in the house, whether they should have that husband or not.
Mm-hmm.
And when people aren't in relationships and don't have the kids, they feel like they've lost. They feel like their life doesn't mean anything because they don't have that thing. That checklist isn't knocked off. And let me be the one to tell you, like I told those people before, your life is just as valid and just as successful with or without those things.
Mm-hmm.
Men, you don't need to have, a straight son is going to be this captain of the football team and blah, 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 blah. Fuck all that noise. Like, my oldest son is not going to be captaining any football teams anytime soon. He's just not a sports guy. He's more intellectual. He'd rather not play sports. I'm not trying to play sports.
And maybe who you are calling your son is going to be a very, very successful daughter.
Very possibly. And if that's a conversation that I have to have with my child later on, all right, cool. Because the hardest part of that transition for me will be remembering to call them by their new name.
Yep.
Because I gave them the first one, and I remembered that one pretty well. And now I got to try to learn a new one. That's the hard part.
Have you, just slightly off topic, have you reached the point in life where you're going through all of their names to get to one?
Oh, all the time. But at this point, I just learned to call out one of two things: either available child, because the house is busy, and so I need to find some kid who's not involved in something. So I just call out for an available child, or I'll say boy child, girl child, and it's just like default names. Like I don't even know specifically which one you are. Just come here. I just need to talk to you.
So
and
yeah,
I'm at that point.
If they hit the point where they, are going by a new name, you just tell them that, okay, just remember that this new name is just one more in the list that I got to get through to get to you.
I understand. That's just what it is. And this applies to all things, because you might have, I had an ex and she had an uncle that his name was Richard. And when I met him, he was Ricky. He was always Uncle Ricky.
Okay.
And as time passed, he just didn't want to be called Ricky anymore because he was an adult. And he just ran by Richard. That was his name. It felt like a more of an adult name. And so then he was Richard. And if I ran across him today, I wouldn't call him Ricky. I'd call him Richard. An acceptable name is an acceptable name. There's people who call me Dwan and people who call me Moon. Both, to me, are acceptable names. You're allowed to call me both.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call me late for dinner. And if someone just changes their name up for whatever reason they have, just go with it. Who are you to dictate somebody else's name?
Right.
But again, these are things that we see in today's world where someone is refusing to call them by their new names, refusing to accept new genders, dead naming someone. Don't fucking do that. It's just fucking rude.
And if the only reason why you won't call someone by a name they are choosing when you will do it for everyone else is because it is a name that is assigned arbitrarily to a gender that you don't see them as, you're a bigot. Yeah.
The problem is you.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Cruz's name is not Ted. Just throwing that out there. I don't give a fuck. Ted Cruz's first name's not Ted. But y'all ain't got no problem with that. I digress. So when which is wild because there's a lot of Republicans who don't go by their actual first names and then they get mad and they want to start dead naming queers. Anyway.
But they'll call Eminem. That ain't his birth name.
That ain't his name. That is a stage name though, so that's a slightly different.
It's a chosen name.
It is, but I can imagine not everyone calls Roman Reigns. His name is Joe. It's fine. But back to Venus. One of the reasons we want to talk about Venus, one, because it's fucking tragic. And it really does highlight the fear in queer spaces, particularly in trans spaces, where the lack of safety, where someone can just discover something they don't know. I mean, should you be honest? You should. But even in that honesty, you can't guarantee safety.
Right.
So Let's just throw that out there where someone
could have
go ahead.
just as easily been some guy that thought she was cute and she told him, and he was not happy that she told him.
Exactly. So there's going to be pushback to saying like, well, if there's a transgender person, they should be honest and they should tell them up front. I agree with you. Know what you're getting into, but understand that is not the key to safety.
Right.
Being open and blunt about their truth is not queer safety. All of it, everyone out there who's mad about the pride parades and mad about pride baseball jerseys and all that, those people are the reasons everyone feels unsafe.
Right.
That's why. You can be a loving Christian. Hi, my name is Dwan, and not give a fuck about any of those things. So don't blame your religion. Christ wasn't a bigot. You are.
Why do you have to have pride? We have to have pride because you exist.
Right. And you don't just accept they exist.
Mm-hmm.
And someone did not accept the fact that Venus existed. They could have left. They could have gotten mad. They could have yelled. They could have yelled and screamed. And would Venus deserve to be yelled and screamed at? No. But Venus would still be alive. I ain't never seen anybody die from being yelled at.
And let's be clear, Venus was not a scrapper, was not a big person at all.
Tiny.
She was tiny.
So tiny. And it's so important to discuss what happened with Venus. Because this is the fear. This is what we are talking about today in 2026. This is the reason why we make such a big deal about these things. Because it's unsafe to just be themselves. You don't have to understand it, random straight person. You don't have to understand what's going on in their head. Hell, I'm straight and I talk to other straight people. I don't understand what's going on in half y'all motherfuckers' heads. Just about life, the universe, and everything. So don't blame anything else about your misunderstandings for the fact that you just don't understand. And that's okay. You don't have to. If someone lives a lifestyle you don't agree with, walk away. No one's forcing you to live it. No one's forcing you to like invite people into your own home and your own space. If you have your own way of living your life, do it. And you feel no problem doing it within the privacy and comfort of your own home and then going out in public and existing as you do. That's all that queer and trans people want to do.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be left alone at home, left alone at the grocery store, left alone at the bank, left alone at the gas station. They want to be left alone at the bar. They want to just be left alone.
There was a line. There was a line, and I forget who said it, but they said that when, and it's true, when a queer person is out on the streets, especially without other queers around, everything is self-monitored. Every action is considered. It's you are policing yourself 100%.
I feel like that's either Dorian Corey or Pepper LaBeija.
Probably.
You get a lot of narration from both of them.
But it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the amount that, you know, I don't even dropping my masks, I don't really seem that gay. But I am still in panic mode when talking to someone I don't know.
Imagine having to live a life where you don't know if just existing as you are is safe to do in public.
Exactly. It's
wild. Like the next time you go to the grocery store and you're just walking down the aisle grabbing what's nearby me, a 12 pack of root beer. Just a 12-pack of root beer. Nothing crazy, right? Just some A&W, right? And you have someone walking down the aisle opposite you. The only concern that you should have is whether or not your cart is in the middle of the aisle. Get your cart out of the middle of the aisle.
Motherfuckers do that.
I know. Fuck you all. Get your cart out of the middle of the bob damn aisle. Anyway, that should be the
Not just that. Do not park your cart 2/3 of the way through the aisle and stand yourself in the other 2/3.
Yeah, move the fucking cart. And if someone's coming and you see them, move the fucking cart. Anyway.
Sorry.
That should be.
This is an example of our brain cell.
Right. That should be the only concern you genuinely have. I lost some people with the shopping carts. They're like, no, I'm gonna be in the middle of the aisle. Fuck y'all. But that should be your only concern, not will I make it to checkout alive?
Yeah.
Is the next person I'm going to see with my eyes open an EMT? Like, that should not be your concern. Just to go out in public, comfortable clothes. Like, I'm wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants, come in the house. And when I go out of the house, I'll still be wearing these sweatpants.
And when they're talking about realness, that's one of the things they're talking about, because Venus had the ability to walk out in public as a woman and pass as a woman.
But somebody didn't agree, and somebody murdered Venus, and that is tragic. And my heart goes out to their family, and I am going to watch that documentary. Apparently it's on Netflix. I haven't had a chance to verify that just yet, but apparently it's on Netflix. So I'm going to take a look at that and maybe just privately discuss that again.
And I know if there's some rando out there who will have watched Paris is Burning and will remark on the fact that it was also stated in the documentary that she tended to put herself in situations that basically, get into cars with strangers type of thing.
Yeah.
And I will say to that, why is that a death sentence?
Right. Remember that the next time your wife or your daughter takes an Uber.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. Just remember that. Just remember that mindset the next time that you or your female best friend or your grandmother or your mom takes an Uber or your sick grandma goes to like medical transport. Do you expect them to make it to the other end on perfectly unscathed? Pun intended. I'd expect that. I'm sure Venus expected that too.
And if she was turning a trick, so what?
I mean, y'all can be mad about her turning a trick. Someone offered the money.
Mm-hmm.
They're not absolved of that responsibility either. Like, it takes two. That transaction involves more than one person.
But also, prostitution, not a death sentence.
Again, it's not a death sentence. We cannot emphasize that point enough. But before we get too far out of pocket, I think that's the doc.
Yeah. It is.
I'll admit, I don't do short shows, but this actually did go longer than I thought it would. Because all you fuckers at the grocery store. That's what it was.
No, we got in our feelings, and that's fine.
Good. Because this was the point of a documentary. The difference between a
Mhm.
movie and a documentary is a documentary is reflecting a point of view on real life situations. And when you're watching a documentary and reviewing a documentary, you have to explore those real life situations. One, contextually, as it applied to the time frame. So we have to look at this in the mid 80s, pre 90s, I guess you could say at some point. But then you also have to take in consideration, how does that impact today? What do I learn today? What is that to someone who is in that same queer community? How does that impact you today? When you're in the straight community and none of these factors are any part of your life, asterisks, because I'm still Black. Like, how does that impact your life? I would otherwise not even know that this culture exists. I'm the kind of person where I would take all this information I've got and I go back and rewatch all of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see how much of drag culture, as I've now learned about it, filters through this mainstream television show.
Yeah.
I'm so curious. I need to go back and watch all of it. Total side note, if you ever get a chance to see Bob the Drag Queen do comedy, fucking hilarious. Go see Bob the Drag Queen.
I've seen him do Traders.
I love anything Bob the Drag Queen does that I've seen, so rock with it. Just everybody. Huge fan.
And I've seen him in some of Todrick's stuff. Todrick Hall.
That checks out.
Shall we talk about next week?
Next week, next Tuesday at noon. Yeah, get snacks because we're gonna probably be one. We're going to watch. That's Love, Simon, right?
It is.
So next week we will be reviewing a movie. The rest of these are movies, and we will be reviewing the movie
Love, Simon.
Love, Simon.
And I'd seen Brokeback Mountain once before we did this. Yeah, decades ago.
Right. Oh,
but I'm a cheerleader. Paris is Burning. I had never seen before. Love, Simon is different. This is a comfort movie for me. I have seen it so many times. This is one that is dear to my heart.
I have never heard of this movie until I got the list from you. So I look forward to seeing it. I believe, what did I say it was? It was on Netflix?
You said it was on Max.
Max, yeah, that's right. So this movie should be on HBO Max. I encourage anyone who is still here to, first of all, thank you. If you're on Facebook, like this post, share this post so other people can rot the day away by listening to me and Jayce for at least 2.5 hours. If you're on YouTube watching this, you can like this video, subscribe to the channel, because that's the things you do. Feel free to leave a comment as you're rewatching this movie. And when you get some free time, you got a whole week. Go on HBO Max if you have it, and watch Love, Simon, so that you can join us here next Tuesday at noon. Anything else you want to throw out there?
I think that's it. We'll discuss what it is, a film adaptation of a book.
Ah, there you go. So I've never read the book or seen the movie or heard of the property. So it'll be a very interesting conversation. It'll be more of a direct movie review type of thing. Where we get to talk about all of its many quirks, both technical and story-wise. So if there's nothing else, for Jayce Maxwell, I'm Dwan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon, and this was the Moon Unscathed. Thank you for joining.